Hi, I'm Matt Slauson. This video documents the repair of a Vito Contra Alto clarinet that was broken in half. Both the socket and the tenon in the middle joint were broken. The first step was to assess the repairs that needed to be done. Some interesting things were done to this clarinet. The instrument was disassembled in order to do the repairs. I found a couple of interesting things when I took apart the clarinet. One of them was that the broken off socket was actually glued on upside down. They actually broke both the tenon and the socket, and both would need to be replaced. They also inserted and glued in with epoxy a piece of electrical conduit to support the body. I cleaned the epoxy off the instrument and took lots of measurements in order to be able to do the tenon and socket graft. I started by repairing the upper socket. I turned it between centers in the lathe and used a piece of plastic ABS rod stock from McMaster Carr to create the new socket. The next step was to figure out how to cut the new tone hole. I got a great tip from Brian Russell on using a boring bar to cut the tone hole, but I decided to go with what I knew, and I created my own tone hole cutter. The post holes were drilled and tapped, and the posts were reinstalled into the body. I dry fit the keys back onto the body to make sure everything lined up, even though I still have to do the tenon on the lower joint. I created this tenon tool to counterbore the lower joint for the new tenon. The lower joint's being counterbored to accept the new tenon. The lathes run in back gear to slow it down considerably. The new tenon was turned out of a piece of ABS rod stock. The new tenon was glued in with high-strength epoxy. The body was put in a fixture on the milling machine, and the tone holes were cut out. The rest of the keys were dry fit to the body. A new stack rod had to be made because the previous repair cut it in half in order to get the two joints to go back together. After all the body work and key fitting was done, the instrument was repadded.